Notre Dame's announcement on Tuesday didn't feel like a routine press release or a simple update tucked between recruiting buzz and postseason speculation. It felt like a statement, one that arrived at a moment when the program, the fan base, and Marcus Freeman himself were still absorbing the sting of the college football playoff snub that had turned what should have been a celebration into something far more hollow. 10 straight wins, a season rebuilt from the ruins of an 0-2 start, a locker room that never fractured, never folded, never doubted the direction of the man leading them. And yet none of it had been enough for the committee, which looked at Alabama's resume, looked at Miami's late-season surge, and decided Notre Dame's body of work didn't measure up. For a program with a history built on mythology, prestige, and the romantic idea that excellence always earns its reward, the decision felt like betrayal wrapped in bureaucracy. The Irish weren't just left out, they were dismissed, their 10-week ascent reduced to a footnote in someone else's story. When Notre Dame declined its bowl invitation, it wasn't an act of petulance. It wasn't a tantrum, it was a recalibration. A moment to acknowledge that a program that had poured everything into clawing its way back into relevance didn't need a consolation prize to validate what it had accomplished. Marcus Freeman, in the middle of all of it, stood quietly at the center of the storm, absorbing the speculation, the noise, and the questions about his future with the same controlled intensity he had shown throughout the season. Every rumor, college suitors, NFL inquiries, hypothetical job proposals whispered by insiders rolled into a narrative that he never fed into, never entertained publicly, never allowed to distract the players who had emptied themselves for him. For weeks, Freeman's future had become a kind of parlor game for the sport's loudest voices, as if his presence in South Bend were a temporary storyline awaiting its next twist. And then Notre Dame made its announcement, simple in wording, but powerful in meaning. Marcus Freeman had been named a finalist for the Eddie Robinson Coach of the Year award. It was more than recognition, it was validation. It was a reminder that while the playoff committee may have overlooked the scope of Notre Dame's turnaround, the college football community at large had not. Suddenly, the narrative shifted from the heartbreak of exclusion to the reality of a coach who had guided a wounded team through a season that easily could have spiraled. The Irish had sat at 0-2 in September, bruised by losses to Miami and Texas A&M that left analysts writing postmortems before the leaves had even turned. Those two defeats created a crater so deep that even 10 straight victories couldn't fully erase it. And yet Freeman had taken that crater and built a fortress on top of it. His players believed in him long before the nation did. They saw how he reacted after the opening losses, not with panic, not with dramatic overhauls, but with an unshakable confidence that the team didn't need reinvention, only refinement. They watched him walk into film rooms with the same tone whether they were 2 games under 500 or riding a national headline-grabbing winning streak. They listened to him talk about growth over glory, process over panic, and they began to mirror his composure. It was that steadiness, that belief that turned a potentially bleak season into a run that kept the Irish in playoff conversations until the very last weekend. 10 games, 10 weeks of refusing to fold, 10 reminders that Marcus Freeman had grown from promising young coach to commanding program leader. For Pete Bavacqua and everyone inside the university, the award nomination read like confirmation of something they had felt for months. Notre Dame was in the hands of the right man. And as the season reached its emotional ending, Freeman's value became even clearer. The external noise about his future never stopped. Rumors swirled about powerhouse programs willing to throw massive contracts his way, NFL evaluators quietly inquiring about his availability, and the universal truth that when you win at Notre Dame, someone else will always try to steal you. Yet despite all of that, he remained anchored, focused, unwilling to let anyone write a narrative for him. And perhaps that's why the announcement carried so much emotional weight. It wasn't a pat on the back for a decent season. It was the national acknowledgement that what Freeman had accomplished was extraordinary. The Eddie Robinson Award, named after one of the sport's greatest coaches, isn't handed out for convenience. It's bestowed on leaders who elevate programs, who redefine seasons, who embody the ideals of college football at its highest level. Freeman had done all of that and more. His record since taking over in 2021, 43-12, speaks to consistency, to culture, to a sustained trajectory that isn't dependent on one great season or one exceptional roster. It speaks to the foundation he has built, one that has turned Notre Dame into a program expected to be in the championship hunt every year, not occasionally or nostalgically. Freeman's transformation of Notre Dame wasn't born out of a single speech or a lucky recruiting class. It came from reshaping the identity of the program without severing its roots. He embraced the expectations, the tradition, the weight of the Golden Dome, but he did it without turning himself into an imitation of past legends. He wasn't trying to be Lou Holtz or Brian Kelly or Knute Rockne. He was building something distinctly his own. Players connected with him. Recruits mirrored his energy. Families left meetings with him talking not about facilities or NIL packages, but about character, about integrity, about a man they trusted to guide their sons. That's why his being named a finalist resonated so deeply in South Bend. It wasn't just about the wins. It was about the leadership. It was about the transformation. It was about the fact that Marcus Freeman had not just coached a team, he had reshaped the trajectory of an entire program. And while the college football playoff snub will linger, while questions about its fairness will echo through off-season debates, Notre Dame's future looks far brighter than its ending felt. For the players, the awards served as a reminder that their journey was seen, that their climb from early season despair to national contention had meaning beyond a bracket they didn't make. For the fans, it was reassurance that the program wasn't unraveling amid disappointment, but instead growing stronger, united under a coach who has proven himself far more than a rising star. And for Freeman, it was a moment that underscored what his players already knew, that he had not only earned the respect of his locker room, but of the entire college football world.